Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are going to be talking about Jormungand, which was a recommendation from Jeb. Thank you very much for the recommendation. However,
appreciate you. Indeed.
If you want to hear about the cars and life and everything else that we were talking about on the pre-show, you can join us on twitch.tv/featured anime podcast whenever we stream live, or you can also help support us and help us grow on patreon.com/featured anime podcast. $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content and more. And let us not forget all about them delicious Tokyo treats. If you use coupon code Featured Anime along with our affiliate link in the show notes, you get $5 off that very first box. And trust me, those treats are delicious. They're oh so delicious. I love them. They're the one thing I look forward to every month in terms of treats. And I can't wait for the next box. And of course, we also have affiliate links for you for Crunchyroll if you want to get yourself a nice little trial for streaming, or get yourself a discount on their store. Affiliate links are available to you on there, as well as on our website at featuredanimepodcast.com. And now on to the meat and brotatoes. Jormungand is aired from April 2012 through June 2012, the first 12 episodes, season 1. And its genres are action, adventure, and drama. It's based off of a manga. Studio for it is White Fox, and producers for it are Genon, Universal, Showgate, just to name a couple of them. And so Jormungand really kind of centers on Koko, who is a spirited and cunning arms dealer working for the International Shipping Corporation, HCLI, and you'll find out a lot of these other companies, they're basically giant shell companies that people know, and so they call them by those names. Koko is deeply entrenched in the underworld of arms and trafficking, and she navigates these dangerous territories with her entourage, comprising of seasoned bodyguard veterans, unique military personnel, and other individuals, including a young boy soldier who goes by Jonah. This story is basically, in large part, I want to say, the story of Jonah and Koko, with a large focus on Koko, and seeking to uncover truths about his past, and also at the exact same time kind of going forward and seeking revenge against those who've wronged him, and having a deep, immense hatred for arms dealers, although that looks to be eroding. Now, I want to say that by and large really kind of comprises season 1 on a very high level point. There's a lot more that actually kind of goes on here. That is for sure.
Yeah. So who do you really think this anime is about? I'm kidding. I couldn't help it. No, the way that you said that's a very concise overview that encompasses everything. Like you didn't miss a single thing. It was actually really good. That said, it does. I think it brings a lot of nuance to the genre. The only thing I really did not like about the show was they're a big teller, not shower, and then eventually they show. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No.
So I thought that yes, and then no.
No, I thought about it for a second after I said yes, and that was my mistake.
I'll give you an example.
Okay, thanks.
So my example is that in one of the introductions to the characters, they're like, "Man, you're such a badass. You've done this, and this. You were so kick-ass and just awesome. I can't believe you're finally on our team." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a fantastic introduction to somebody. Are we going to see what happens?" And then they showed no gumption other than just following those basic orders for like 3 or 4 episodes, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, this is the badassery they're talking about."
Okay. Yeah. Jeb says like every 2 episodes it has a new plot. And I kind of honestly agree with that. They have a fair number of episodes where it's phase 1, phase 2 for it. So it's a story. It's a plot that is kind of dual episodes every single time. They do link to other ones. They link back to other episodes or reference it or kind of cover it in an earlier episode. But at the same time, it is very 2 episode centric. So you get the rise and conclusion of whatever that story arc is within those 2 episodes for it.
That makes a lot of sense.
The only thing that I have to say though is episode 1 really sets it up for like a mythological style feel, and they also show a rocket being shot up. So I'm wondering if because there is a second season, I'm wondering if there is going to be a kind of round point where it comes back to that full circle, or whether or not it's just going to be left to its own devices, so to speak.
Yeah, no, it's just the way that obviously I don't want to keep saying Jormungand, but Jormungand, yeah. It is, and I think it's in reference to, or at least a minor reference to, the world-eating snake. And then its opening credits, I was thinking one of 2 things. Either it's going to be a world-eating snake of sorts, or it was going to be about space travel and space warfare. And I really liked the fact that there were certain characteristics in the anime that were very pointed. And I think that our main character, Koko, was drawn after the visage of a snake. You know how most people have said that most anime is centered around like cat faces, which is why you have such large eyes and the facial structure.
No.
Her face. No? You've never heard that?
Mm-mm.
Huh.
Nope.
Yeah,
never heard it.
It was a big old thing where essentially the facial structure with the big eyes and the small mouth and the minor nose is based off of cats.
Never heard that, but you know, I'll be happy to dig into it. And
no, that's fine.
Okay.
But in here, I feel like they showed more of a snake profile, which is where I was assuming Jormungand or
Jormungand.
Yes, thank you. I keep wanting to say Jormungand was in reference to. I thought that's how they were tying it in, and she was supposed to be the world-eating snake, but she seemed to be a far more pacifistic person. Like, she was willing to get her hands dirty, but she'd rather not. And I thought that was a kind of a unique take for an arms dealer.
We don't know the full story or anything having to revolve around it. Jeb in our YouTube chat says the rocket comes in season 2. It's pretty much the entire plot of season 2. So, that sounds pretty good. I know you watched a couple episodes of season 2. I don't know if that really kind of started coming into play, but I am going to remain optimistic for that portion of it. Yeah, the art style for this was definitely unique. It did kind of take it a little differently than what I was expecting. This also had a lot of Cowboy Bebop vibes for me. The music and everything like that. I believe there was also a kind of a tie to them in some fashion, like probably the artwork, one of the artists or something. But it was very reminiscent of Cowboy Bebop, especially for the music for me, which gave me hope, but at the same time kind of let me down. At the exact same time, it gave me hope in the terms of look and feel, because I'm a fan of Cowboy Bebop. Let down that it wasn't a very Cowboy Bebop-esque style show. However, I'm glad it did its own thing, right? It didn't feel like it was a ripoff of Cowboy Bebop. They did their own thing. They had their own story, their own method, their own plot, and everything else. So I'm glad that it wasn't exactly like that.
I kind of see what you're talking about with the music score, at least initially, and there's sprinkled in there where, yeah, it did feel like they were at the very least inspired by Cowboy Bebop. And while yes, I do agree, I'm glad it wasn't a copy paste. I felt very let down because in my mind, Cowboy Bebop is a very high quality anime, and it's most likely nostalgia looking back, but I was trying to hold this to a higher to that standard, and when I found myself feeling that it didn't match it, I was very let down and very disappointed. And I had to get past it in order to continue actually enjoying the anime, which I did. But it sometimes the music didn't match. I feel like they didn't score it correctly at times. I realize I just said the same thing twice, but
yes.
It just goes back to the point of it didn't fit sometimes, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But if you're not basing it off of Cowboy Bebop, then it's a completely different story.
Well, it didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth by any stretch of the word. I enjoyed it still, and my letdown wasn't necessarily in a bad way. It wasn't something that where it just turned me off to the show or anything like that. It stood on its own. It was still a great show. It still had a solid plot that you could follow all the way through without any problems or issues. So I'm not going to sit there and say that I hated the show. I didn't. I thought it was really good. It was enjoyable for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was certainly very action packed, action filled. So this is, if you're looking for a show where it is very action oriented, and has some adult humor in it, then this is definitely going to be a show for you. That is one thing I will say. This is definitely not a kid friendly show.
No.
By any stretch of the word, whether it be kind of adult themes, nudity, the violence in it, everything else. This is not a kid friendly show, but it is a very entertaining show in that you don't have any arcs or any sections of the story where you don't get a conclusion.
Yes, that was one satisfying part of it. Everything finished. You didn't have a next time on, or that never showed up. And the only detractor I would say is everything's very over the top. And I don't necessarily mean the action. The action I liked, whatever. But all the reactions that our main character had, the mood swings that other characters had, they're very just almost comedic when it's not a comedic situation. And it's not the scenario in which you're presented doesn't make you want to laugh in any way. And you just have one character going off the rails ballistic and then flips in a split second back to business like they weren't just freaking out. And it kind of messed with the flow of the show. I felt like it was very choppy at times.
How so?
Okay. For instance, I want to say early on, maybe episode 1 or 2, something goes wrong, and this guy. So it's not our main character. It's I think it's a bad guy, dude with a cane.
Not at the beginning, because that's much later on in the show.
Okay.
About halfway through. So it's not the beginning for season 1.
I thought it was episode 1 or 2. Anyway, basically this dude watches his subordinate go ballistic on somebody, basically kill him, and he's like, "You stupid, what the?" All right, moving on. And you're like, and the person in question says, "That's what I like about them. They're willing to go with the flow. They're willing to just to it wasn't adapt. I forget exactly what the term was, but basically like, oh, I can be crazy and they're not going to punish me. Sweet. No, do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to rack my brain, because you said guy with the cane, which is the older guy.
He had the blonde, not the blonde, the brunette, short-haired assassin who just loved shooting and killing people. Doesn't narrow it down, does it?
No, are you talking about the assassins that came after Koko, which is the main, or are you talking about the guy that owns that one company, who's a lieutenant, who was a general or whatever he was? The assassins,
I thought.
Okay.
Not the orchestra. Not orchestra.
Okay, so not orchestra, which would be the assassins. So you're talking about the older Chinese gentleman with
I guess.
Karen, who
Yes, Karen.
Okay, that wasn't until much later on. Like they didn't.
Oh, so I'm jumbling it completely. I apologize.
Yeah, like he wasn't introduced until later on, and when he was introduced, it was after Koko and her brother Casper had talked about it, and he told her to kind of be aware of him about the whole thing, and then they went off and did their own thing, and he wasn't upset about it, but the CIA agent Scarecrow, what had happened was told them to not move because he still has more questions. And Scarecrow went off talking on the phone and said, you see this big guy here? He's going to make sure you guys can't even leave. Well, Karen walks over, beats the ever living tar out of him, and then they leave. And Scarecrow is upset that the guy was upset that he got his butt handed to him.
No, then we're not talking about the same one. Because I thought that so maybe the character I named was incorrect. Because that Karen didn't have brown hair. She had black hair.
You're talking about the one girl that was with there that enjoyed killing that goes commando?
No, not her.
Okay. You're not talking about Velma, who was a survivor and she's a part of Coco's team?
No, definitely not her.
You're not talking about the young girl that wears razor blades as a necklace around her neck that wants to go into the restaurant business, which is almost towards the end, which is basically the end almost of season 1.
No, not her. I swear it was in the first 2 seasons. I'll remember it eventually. First 2 seasons. It better be in the first 2 seasons. It's that's all there is.
Yeah. Well, in the first season, at the end of the first season. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about then, because there was only one guy with a cane that I know of.
So he wasn't with a cane then. I thought it was with a cane. I'm jumbling characters. But basically what happens is he goes from upset that she killed a guy to, all right, let's move on. Within seconds. And then she remarks that she's going to get along with him just fine because he's able to roll with her antics. She was bloodthirsty. I forget who it was. She wasn't a main character. Like, she wasn't a huge character, obviously. Otherwise, we would have known the names. Rather, I would have remembered them. Well, no, I wouldn't have. That's a lie.
I am so bewildered. I mean, you have another, which is again, it's not an assassin, but they're a rival weapons dealer, but again, has nothing to do with that. And they're basically shooting their way out of a situation. I
want to say
the one with all the knives.
No, I'll have to. I apologize. I'm going to have to figure out which one it was because this is annoying the crap out of me.
CJ says this is riveting. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have no idea what. I am recounting everything that I can remember.
I want to say it was before episode 5, but I could be very wrong. Damn it! All right, let's try to circle back. I'm going to see if I can find it while we talk about other things.
Right. Okay.
Sorry. Lost it completely.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, was it one of the Jeb asks, was it one of the assassins that they were with the fat guy, the big guy? But I don't think so. Which would be, yeah, I don't know. I honestly can't think of anything that fits that description because the old guy, the guy with the cane, he gets upset when his team gets taken out and Karen lives. And when Coco's walking away, he wants to kill Koko, but Koko ends up working out a deal or making it so that way she can skedoodle with Scarecrow and survive without being assassinated. And he's upset and he breaks his cane on the chair and destroys the chair. And that's after he's eaten Chinese food with Koko, takes her out to a meal where this whole thing is going on. And it has to do with the professor and the butterflies or whatever it is. I mean, like, we've basically recounted almost every single portion
99% of it. This is going to annoy me. This is going to annoy me beyond all recognition. Like, it's.
I mean, I think we have to kind of have a watch party. I mean, like, was it on the Cliff Notes that you were reading there?
No. Definitely not the Cliff Notes version.
I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, like, I'm kind of at a loss here. I don't know. I don't know what else there is. I mean,
all right. So, episode 2, this dude. Let's see if I can.
Okay, well, you're talking about another arms dealer that I had talked about, and I talked about she has a bunch of knives, and I said that, and you said no. I said the arms dealer where they
knives? But you also said that was at the end. That's episode 2.
She has a whole bunch of knives. That's her thing. She has a whole bunch. She has like machetes and everything like that on her. That he is arms dealer. And he gets upset that Koko, and I said this specifically. I said this too.
Yeah,
Koko does him dirty and abandons him, and they have to basically shoot their way out. And you said no.
So yes, that one. So okay. Yeah, I was right. Episode 2.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a cane. He doesn't have a cane, and he does Koko dirty by saying she has something, obviously, to this military colonel who wants it, and she doesn't want to give it to him. Like
wait, which one's that one? Because that happens. That's episode 2.
That's episode.
No, I know, but that happens multiple times.
No,
okay,
it doesn't. It doesn't. They're only there that one time. They're only talking to the one colonel. He says, Koko, don't you have a radar? Because that's what he wants. He wants a radar, and that's the whole deal. So no, it doesn't happen multiple times.
Well, it happened with the doctors too.
No, it didn't happen with the doctors. It had nothing to do with the doctors, and that's someone else entirely. And
exactly, which twice it happened multiple times.
The guy knew that they were in there, and he was going to go in there anyways. But it wasn't a matter of him trying to buy anything. He didn't like the arms dealer.
See, she goes, the best episode is when Uncle Jack and Rick fight. Oh man. So yeah, unfortunately, it all meshes together for me. And
obviously, it's okay. Jack Daddy is here to help set the record straight.
No. Apparently, it's Uncle Jack, not Jack Daddy. Uncle Jack.
According to my recommendation that I left, CJ, it's Anime Daddy Jack. So there you go. Get it straight, CJ.
Love it.
Get it straight. All right.
No room for mistakes.
No room for mistakes.
Oh man.
All right. I mean, honestly, on that note,
on that riveting note, yes.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about? That I mean, I went through describing almost the whole show.
Yeah, yeah. And the fact that I could not remember, I watched this whole thing in the last 4 days. Could not remember that he didn't have a cane. I remembered it happened. I had no idea that she had. I don't know why I missed the fact that she had so many knives.
It's the thing is I even talked about that one too, and you're like, no, it's not that one.
Because it didn't make sense, but
no, that's it exactly.
Looking at it.
Showed me the picture. No, that's exactly what I was talking about. Jesus.
At least I knew what episodes they were in. I was like, no, it's in the beginning, 1 or 2. I was right. That was the only thing I was right about.
Right. Jeb says in episode 2, they are fighting over an oil file, and all the comms got knocked out. Yeah. So, and they had basically callers, guards that went with them to go out there so that way they can reach people and make calls or communications because they have that whole deal. Yes.
Yeah. I remember it. I just don't remember who was there. Apparently,
you don't remember it. You just meshed like 3 or 4 episodes together that are at different parts of the season. Fit. Yeah, well, it fit in your mind.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't fit anywhere else.
This is 100%. This is the dude with the cane, and no,
it's like
duct
tape, spit, bubble gum, everything like holding it together. It totally fits. Totally fits. Totally fits.
Oh, geez, that sounds like my work truck held together with a prayer.
Right. Okay. All right. On that note, sir, how do you feel about a rating? You feel good? Feel like you could go into it for the rating? You got anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I was really a big fan of the time traveling grandchildren.
Oh, I'm sure you were. I'm sure you were. Let's open up that can of worms.
Seriously though, that's what it feels like on this one. Jesus. All right. So objectively speaking, it is not lighthearted. It is not something I'd recommend for anybody who has delicate sensibilities. I feel like I liked it. There was some nudity, but only in episode 12. I'm not quite sure why it was there. I didn't really find it to be necessary. They did have almost nude scenes sporadically throughout, but they hidden like they usually are, and it wasn't a big thing. Everyone seemed to have a decent conclusion. All the people I liked remained alive. All in all, I would say it's a feel good. It just was slightly confusing. I'm gonna give this a 6. It's not necessarily something that I would recommend to see other people, but it's worthwhile. I feel like, yeah, it's worthwhile.
Well, I mean, like, to help cover your shame of the nudity
meshing
parts
everything together.
And meshing everything together, you could always cover them eyes and where you're actually looking with the nice Featured Anime Podcast app available at shop.featuredanimepodcast.com, where you can go and get all your sweet FAP merch. So I want to say, in reality, you're giving it a 9.
Yeah, it's like 8.5, 8.235 if we're going with
if we're splitting hairs. If we're splitting hairs. So, but seriously, 6.
I'm going to stick with my 6. Yeah, I'm sticking with my 6.
All right. For me, I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go 7. I enjoyed it. It was a lot more. I had some fun with it. It was action packed. It was not terribly hard for me to follow. It was enjoyable. It gave solid conclusions for each kind of story arc, where you felt a majority of the story arcs, I want to say. You had a lot of little stories that were strung throughout. So even if you joined in after a mini arc was kind of passed or done, you'd still kind of know what's going on, which is kind of a plus and a minus at the exact same time. I because you have to basically skip 2 episodes to be able to get that kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
The music, honestly, I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed it. You got enough of the character backgrounds as well to know where they're coming from, who they are, as well as other relevant information about them. So you weren't left wanting or wondering what was going on. Also, at the exact same time, you saw that she has standards. Koko has standards. Everyone else has standards. And everyone else is of the same mindset as well. I will let you all watch the show to figure out what that standards is. Weapons dealer, standards, I know, crazy, but they're there, which kind of adds that human element to it, I feel. So yeah, 7 for me. Nice. Next week, we're going to be talking about season 2, which is the next half of 12 episodes. Now, in case anyone's wondering, like if you're watching it on Crunchyroll or anything like that, they have them all labeled as one season, even though they are technically 2 separate seasons. They came out at separate times, different periods. They're titled differently for the names, but they are meant to be watched back to back. So kind of separate them out and then move forward, or don't watch them all together. And, yeah. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. If you feel like we did it too much justice, not enough justice, or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. All the contact information is available in the show notes for you. Of course, all that wonderful merch, you can buy it on shop.featuredanimepodcast.com, and let us not forget about Tokyo Treats, featured anime for the coupon code, along with that affiliate link, as well as everything else in the show notes. And don't forget to join us on Discord. And until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.